What up, ya marks? And welcome to Jobbers, baby. I am your host, Jake the Villain. Alongside me, we got a beautiful Brett. Yeah, brother. And CL Kid.
That's right, baby.
Too sweet. All right, guys. Well, today it is May 7th. 2020, and we are recovering still from that fantastic episode we had last week with an incredible guest in Buff Sir Bagwell. Today, we got some exciting stuff to talk about as Money in the Bank is upon us for WWE. So the bulk of our cast today will be centered around Money in the Bank. And so to kick things off, we're just going to go straight into our What's the Deal segment. What's the deal, guys? With this Money in the Bank lineup, what do you think of the matches going on? Are you a fan of the men's Money in the Bank, the women's Money in the Bank? How about the championship matches? Let's dissect them one by one. CL Kid, we'll start with you. What do you think about the men's Money in the Bank match?
Looking at the people, just to run through it, Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, King Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles. I think adding in AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan really give this what it needs, which is star power. Aside from that, I'm a little torn on it because there's no one in there, for me at least, that I feel needs the Money in the Bank title. That kind of – sometimes you get those guys that are almost top tier but not quite, and you use that to kind of leverage them forward. But none of these guys really hit me, and this is a small thing, but for me, big importance. None of their entrance music really pops for me in a way that when something randomly happens or having a match and then they're coming running down the ramp, I'm not really excited to hear any of theirs. I guess AJ Styles would be the closest thing. But for me, he doesn't.
What about DB? You like DB's entrance music?
I guess Daniel Bryan will have to be the way. And I'm not a big fan of his music, but I guess it gives you that like that little moment to be like, hey, what is that? Oh, and that'll be exciting. I guess if he's the guy who's going to win, I'd be most okay with that. I don't know what you're feeling on that, Brett. Not a prediction, just, favorite.
I'd like to see Aleister Black win. I mean, I've been a big fan of Aleister Black since NXT. I think he's great. He's got the great look. He can go. His shit looks real brutal. That flying knee looks just absolutely brutal. He's the guy that I would, in a perfect world, if I were booking, that's who I would put over. But I do understand why they might not do it because he's still just kind of starting out. I really hope they don't go with Corbin. I think that's all I need to say about that. I mean, if Corbin wins it, it's going to be like if John Cena had won at the ECW pay-per-view. We're all going to riot. So I'm pulling with Aleister Black. And as far as that theme music thing goes, I at first I had that reaction like, what is this guy talking about? But I do kind of understand what you're saying with it, and I do halfway agree with you, though. If I were to speak for our missing colleague, King Deuce, most of these people don't want none. So,
I'm a big House. He's been out since Mania, but he came back this week during that gauntlet match, which he won. I thought for a second they're going to give it to Bobby Lashley, but he came in and wound up winning. I agree. The lineup's kind of light. Not really sure why it's so light. Brett, do you know if Aleister Black, has he lost yet since he's been called up?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
he has?
Yeah, he has. He lost in the pay-per-view, didn't he?
He lost to Rollins, too.
That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. When they kind of cheated him, he lost to Rollins. But, I mean, I love Aleister Black because the points you make are all valid about him. I think the only way for me that I would enjoy an Aleister Black cash-in is if he turns heel on that cash-in. I think that would be the way to go, have him go up. I don't know who at this point, it's too early in the year to say, but let's just say, for example, someone like Daniel Bryan were to win the title and he, gives props to him at some point of the year and then he cashes in on him. Kind of like the Daniel Bryan Big Show thing. Because I know that, like you said, the entrance music doesn't make a big deal, but for me, the most memorable moments for cashing in is the Seth Rollins music hitting and that freaking Dolph Ziggler music hitting. And it's just when that happened, it was on. So I don't know. I can go either way with it. I like Aleister Black. I think that will give him the additional push, but I don't like him as a face. He's a little too quiet. to play the face persona, and I don't think it's really worth not wasting, but gifting.
And then just to kind of piggyback off of that, now since you brought up the babyface heel thing, the Money in the Bank concept kind of lends itself to a heel, right? Because once, and I'm sure we'll get into it later, but once you had that first time that Edge cashed in after John Cena just gotten the shit kicked out of him in an Elimination Chamber match, that's when it kind of turned from, okay, well, we're going to set this up and build the angle and everything like that, to bam, just cash it in at an opportune moment. So that's why I think it's the concept of it just kind of lends itself to heel so much better because of that. And I understand now it's a little bit different. There's not baby faces and heels. Everybody's kind of in between, but there's definitely everybody kind of leans one way or the other. And it's going to be difficult to take somebody like Daniel Bryan, especially, who is a babyface. I mean, even when he's a heel, he's still kind of a babyface. He's still got those tendencies, and it'd be difficult to imagine him cashing it in on whoever, like Bray Wyatt or somebody, whoever's champion at the time, that just got the shit kicked out of him. So that's the only thing I could, and I could see him going with AJ Styles that way too, because he's kind of playing that heel thing. So that's just kind of how I've always felt about the Money in the Bank concept.
So I don't know if Jake, you're going to jump in here, but so what do you think of a guy like the Ziggler cash in? Obviously that's a huge Money in the Bank moment for a lot of people.
You're jumping in the You're jumping list here. Let's go. Let's get to it though. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It wasn't my intent to go that far into it, but if you want to dive into the Ziggler cash in, right? So the Ziggler cash in is seen as one of the best moments of not just Money in the Bank, but what is that? The Raw after Mania moments of all time. He did it on a heel essentially. Dolph Ziggler, or as a heel essentially. And I don't know what you wanted to call Del Rio at that point. But Del Rio was kind of like the transitioning babyface because he was starting to do those consistent headshot kicks even after the guy was already down. Like I remember he had the match with Ziggler and he kicks him in the head with the little Shining Wizard. And then the next week, as soon as he goes to get up, he does it again. And the crowd kind of gives it like, it was a little too far. You can kind of feel that heel vibe from him. So he was kind of a transitioner. What do you feel, Brett, in that light where you get a guy who is a heel and the crowd's just going nuts anyway?
I'm sorry. I guess I kind of, what was the question on that? Were we doing the cash-ins, like favorite cash-ins now?
I'm just kind of rolling onto the Ziggler thing just because of the fact that it came up, and I just want to transition to it. You were saying that the Money in the Bank cash-in lends itself to a heel because of just the thievery of the whole moment. But you look at Ziggler, who cashed in on Del Rio, and he was essentially the heel, but he got the cheer. So, like, now you get a guy who is a babyface, let's say, like your example was Daniel Bryan cashing in. How do you really handle that? I mean, they were cheering for the heel regardless.
Well, the heel, in my opinion, the heel, it's not that the heel turns face, it's that the heel has an over moment with the crowd. And so when you go to cash in and you're a heel, so there's really two options at this point. Edge made this popular when he cashed in on Cena after the Elimination Chamber, as Brett called out. But taking advantage of your opponent while they're down is a very heel thing to do. That's kind of the heel approach. Outside of the heel approach, when you've had baby faces catch in, John Cena, DB or when DB did it, Seth Rollins, I guess, you have the kind of presenting of the briefcase either prior to the match, during the match, not necessarily waiting for the champion to be in a vulnerable state. And so I think that's how they would probably do it again is Daniel Bryan.
Lesnar did that too, right?
Yeah, and Lesnar's kind of the odd anomaly, right? Because he's like, I'm a beast. I don't care. I'm just gonna present it and challenge. I just want a title shot. That's all I care about. I'll be whoever it is. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that's how they'd probably take it if DB were to win. Brett, what do you think?
Yeah, and I mean that would probably be the way to do it. And even you could do it like it was originally set up to do and use it to set up an angle. Like you get a baby face. Like let's just say for the sake of argument, it is Daniel Bryan or it is Bray Wyatt. That's the champion. Just for the sake of argument. They have history. They've had all sorts of awesome matches and everything like that. They have all sorts of had all sorts of awesome matches and stuff like that. And having the build up with the Money in the Bank, like, Brian or DB's getting his ass kicked all the time and time again. But he does have this trump card in his back pocket, which is the Money in the Bank contract. So yeah, I mean that would be how they would have to do it in that situation.
Just two little suggestions for the show. Anytime she goes walking by, we got the Jess chants.
Jess. I'm for it.
Two, King Doozy wanted me to write. He's not here today at the moment, obviously, but he wanted me to say that he hopes and prays, I'm not sure how he, that King Corbin wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. He just wanted me to throw that in there for you guys, in case you were, torn on his allegiance. He wants Corbin to win this thing.
He would. That's a Deuce thing to do.
Yeah, he loves Corbin. I know. Or Otis.
We got a lot of chatter going on in the Wrestling Life group to what you're talking about, Charlie. I know the guys are saying we got Simon Williams, who's pretty doubtful in the potential of the Money in the Bank. Doesn't think it's going to be too solid, but Jacob Anthony Moses does. So let's kind of transition. So we've talked about the men's Money in the Bank match, kind of a light crowd that's participating. What about the women's Money in the Bank? We got Shazer, we got Nia Jax, we got Dana Brooke, we got Lacey Evans, and also Carmella. So what do we think about that match? Brett, we'll start with you.
I mean, the obvious one's Shayna Baszler. She had a great match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, came up just short and everything. So that's the obvious one. But then you throw in Nia Jax, who is, big, definitely as far on the unbeatable level, she's definitely neck and neck with Shayna Baszler. And I would say those two are probably your favorites, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, just because, like I said before, it sets itself up to a heel, or for a heel. They're both heels. They both cash in, in that opportune moment and everything. So that's who I think you would have to go as the favorites, either Shayna Baszler or Nia Jax. And Carmella.
Carmella may win. WWE loves her for some reason.
Yeah, but she had her moment already, and I think honestly that, so Shayna Baszler, I don't think she will win because she's already had the opportunity to be presented on the highest stage, or Mania.
She's getting Braun Strowman right now.
Yeah, correct. And she's proven that she can just get there, period. She doesn't need this. So you want to really use it to elevate somebody. So you look at Asuka, somebody who really needs that rebranding, that repush. Now, you can't really do much different with her. She's almost like a lucha character where you pretty much are what you are. But I think the best bet, even though I don't like her, is Lacey Evans. They're really trying to push her as a face now, and she's getting over with the crowd. And not for me, I'm not a fan at all. But I see that being as the cheap way out because she's very celebratory for fans. She has the whole women's movement thing going on with the kid and all that kind of thing. And I think that's just going to be the cheap, lazy way that WWE wants to go with it. Because Nia Jax, she hasn't really sold that she's a threat again. I mean, this could obviously do that for her. But since she can't speak on the mic, you're really kind of wasting the moment with Nia Jax. She's another one that the crowd doesn't really get behind. So they love to get these people who are behind the crowd or the ultimate heel. And there are no ultimate heels here other than Baszler. But like I said, her time's already passed in terms of needing something like this. She's already at the top. I think, honestly, that the best bet is stupid Lacey Evans.
So here's my take. I do agree. I think Lacey Evans or Dana Brooke will go over and win. Nia Jax, you botching. I really hope that you do nothing to win the Money in the Bank championship briefcase. She is terrible. I'm sick of her. She's not a good wrestler. They try to present her as this beast, but that doesn't happen. She gets beaten easily. Prime example is they had this terrible segment on Raw between her, Asuka, and Shayna, which Shayna can't talk. Don't give her the mic, please. Get away from her. Asuka, they're trying this she's just speaking her native tongue, and they're trying to make it funny. It's not that funny. It's just bad. And they both kicked Nia Jax. They basically beat her up and then try to beat each other up. It's just Nia Jax sucks. She's not good. She had her run. It was okay. It was a good pop, but she didn't really last that long. She can't wrestle when she works with. She to me at this point, she's an attraction that just is used for power in a match. And I can't stand her when I see her. I can't stand half the people in this match, actually. I give it to Lacey Evans, and I hope she turns, because Lacey Evans' heel was so good. It was money television. It was great. Why turn her face? Why do that?
I mean, in defense of Nia Jax, she had the double knee surgery, so that's probably why she started to lose, knowing that she was going to have to do that. Still not a fan, but nonetheless, there's that. But I will say,
she looks
also,
like Super Shredder with that outfit. Why did they give her that outfit? It's awful.
I'm not a fan.
Nash was Super Shredder.
Hey, side note though, I think it should. Okay, like I already said about my Lacey Evans thing, but for me, I would love. It's not going to happen. That Asuka wins this thing, and the first night she comes out to show off, that she won the title, Paul Heyman represents her and goes forward as an Asuka, which beats a Paul Heyman guy and goes heel. I feel like that would be a lot better for her. She's not getting over as a face, and it'd be a nice little twist, and she doesn't have to speak, But that's never going to happen because that's too much. That's like steps of thought that creative team won't do.
So are they having the women's Money in the Bank match like the men's Money in the Bank match too, where they're going through Titan Tower as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Should we talk about the match itself?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we alluded to it a couple weeks ago, but let's get into it. So Brett, you want to take us through kind of the difference in this year's Money in the Bank matches as opposed to past?
Yeah, so typically it's basically a ladder match with the Money in the Bank contract at the top of it. You beat the crap out of everybody, you climb up the ladder, you get the contract. But with quarantine and everything going on, I guess they're going to make this another one of those cinematic matches where they're going to have to battle through, Titan Tower itself, clear up to the roof, where they're going to have a ring set up with ladders up there, and the Money in the Bank contract suspended from a crane or something, suspended regardless, so battle through Titan Tower all the way up to the top, get in the ring, and then ladder match. So it's either going to be super shitty or super great. I can't see any way where it's going to be just kind of meh. It's either going to be awesome or it's going to completely blow.
Yeah, I think we're lucky that a lot of the wrestlers they put in these matches are gifted in-ring talents across the board. So, I doubt it'll be. I think what I'm nervous about is the spots won't be as big as prior ladder matches because they're trying their best to work the building, which, Orton and Edge, I thought did a fantastic job of having great spots considering they had a small room to work with. And they're very creative and innovative. I hope that this group carry that innovation. I think this match will be more similar to that as the cinematic matches we got.
It's funny about the cinematic match thing. I was picturing this because, we put the pic. Actually, we posted it on Podjobbers on Instagram. The image of what this is going to look like with the ring on the roof and then obviously the ladder surrounding and, the belt from the crane, right? I was hoping that maybe they would do the cinematic within the building. And then when they get to the top, they switch it back over to a traditional match. I don't know how that blends. Obviously we don't know what's going live, what's not live nowadays for WWE. But if they were to do that, I feel like you can get a lot of use and even balance out of the whole structure. Because I don't even know how many floors are in this building. Is this going to be a stairs thing? Is someone going to come to an elevator out of the last second? I don't know any of that structure. But I would like to assume that if you're going to have that build up as you're traveling through the building to get to the top, that somebody is going to be eliminated within the building and not everybody just makes it to the top and then it becomes a regular match. So I don't know how that's going to work out. I still think the match overall will probably be pretty good. I'm not going to be a hater anymore. So expectations low, automatic, good grade just based on that.
There's 7 floors on Titan Tower.
7?
7 floors.
I'm excited. I don't know. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm excited about this.
Why not, right? I mean, everything is so difficult. At least I know it's corny as hell when they first announced it, but I mean, it's just at least it's interesting. You know,
The image was corny, right? But I think the idea of it's actually pretty cool. It's like a martial arts movie, like the way they're setting it up, you know,
like a Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah, like a Jackie Chan movie, exactly. Yeah. Or like something that Old Boy would go through in that. If you guys have seen that movie,
they could have done it at the SmackDown Hotel.
A SmackDown Hotel match. Man, they missed the boat on that.
They missed the boat there. All right, so we spent enough time on the Money in the Bank matches. We'll come back to the card, but I do want to take a memory lane to overall kind of your favorite Money in the Bank cash-ins. We've had some classic ones over the years. We alluded to some earlier. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys kind of your favorites that have existed over the years.
My favorite is, to the surprise of no one, is Edge's first cash-in. So shit, I'm not wearing my ears. I thought I was. Sorry. But the Edge cash-in, just because it changed what a Money in the Bank cash-in was. Before the Edge cash-in, it was, we're going to build up this whole angle and blah, 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 blah. And nobody saw that coming. And, I've watched that match quite a few times, and I recently went back and watched that, the Elimination Chamber match before it happened. And, I mean, Cena took ass kicking, and especially with that match before they had the padding down when it was super stiff, the cage was real stiff and everything. For Edge to run out there and he was prodded on by Mr. McMahon as well, because there was some beef with John Cena and Mr. McMahon at the time. So he got him out there, did the cash-in, speared him like 3 times, and then just took it. Ultimate opportunist. It basically created the Edge character going forward.
Was that the first ever Money in the Bank?
That was the first. I'm 99% sure that was the first opportunistic cash-in, let's call it.
Oh, okay. All right. So Edge wasn't the first holder of the Money in the Bank.
I don't think so, but I don't remember who the first was.
Got it.
Yeah. I mean, all the obvious ones, for example, the Ziggler one is definitely my favorite one, just because I can just remember the moment, how that pop when he came out. And Ziggler was my favorite person at the time. So, and I love Del Rio, but the emotion behind it, and that, like I already explained, that was just huge.
Did you say you love Del Rio?
Oh, I love Del Rio. Yeah, I love Del Rio. I mean, whatever, we won't get into that. But yes, I do love Del Rio. So the Ziggler cash-in was my favorite cash-in. At that time, I was all over the Ziggler thing. Big, huge fan. Especially since he didn't just walk in, hit the finisher. He kind of had to almost seem as if maybe it wasn't going to go, and then he hits the zigzag and finishes him. But I will say, obviously, the John Cena cash-in on CM Punk, where he announced it, as lame as that was, it set up this huge CM Punk thing. The starting the heel turn, Big Show jumping in. There was just a lot there that I really love. But the most underrated one, and the one I'm going to give my vote to just for the hell of it, is the Damien Sandow cash-in. Because Damien Sandow cashed in. I was there. He was here in Orlando. And he cashed in. What I loved about him is most heels nowadays, which I hate, they tend to do the runoff thing more. What I loved about CM Punk was that he was a heel that was like, yeah, I'll take your match tonight. Like, let's do this all the time. Obviously, he eventually got to the part where he was, running off with the belt and escaping. But for the most part of his run, his heel dominance, that was just like face-like, yeah, tonight, all the time, which I loved. Damien Sandow took that match, it wasn't cowardice or anything. John Cena was ready, and he still took it, and he had him in the crippler crossface, and he was adding moves to his repertoire he'd never done before, and there was a lot of close calls, and he lost, but it just really pushed the limit. I love that moment. That crowd that night here at Amway was nuts, just hoping and cheering for Sandow.
But what happened?
Yeah, usual, but still,
was he the first unsuccessful cash-in?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
yeah, either that or Cena.
His character, I feel like, was during the it was ahead of its time, or too far in the future. I think if Sandow, remember, he came out, he did the whole intellectual thing. He held the mic like this, and he was great on the mic. He was a good in-ring performer. He never stuck. He never stuck, and unfortunately, then he got over again when he was Miz's like stunt double. Yeah, that was hilarious. But how long could that last, right? So, that was the unfortunate thing. What's up, Brett?
And if I may go back and correct myself, I did look at it. Edge was the first Money in the Bank person, and that cash-in on John Cena was the first cash-in.
Oh.
So to kind of just forget everything I said before, and we'll take it in a different way. So what that did was that established the Money in the Bank contract. So instead of it being something where you're building up an angle and you're going to cash it in on a certain day, I'm going to get my match this way. This gave you the possibility of what it could do.
No, yeah, that was definitely. I can't knock on that. You just know how I am with Edge.
Yeah, you listen to the podcast he did with Christian. He talked about it often enough, where he said, before the match, they had the idea for the match, but they didn't really have anything beyond what the match actually was. So he was like instrumental in, making the Money in the Bank what it is and what it could be. And that was all his idea, was the cash in on John Cena after that. So, you can hate on Edge all you want, but game changer, bud. Game changer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it was Jericho who came up with the concept of the match. Yeah. It was either this or Elimination Chamber that he came up with.
Yeah, Jericho.
Ironically, he never won a Money in the Bank contract. But so before I give my my favorite of all time, I'm going to run through a couple of big hitters out there. So Bayley's cash in last year, same night, Money in the Bank. Flair takes one of Becky Two Belts, and then Bayley wins the Money in the Bank that night, cashes it in that night, and beats Flair, which is pretty big for her. Orton in 13 on Dan Bryan after Triple H interfered. We'll talk about kind of setting the tone for things. That kind of established the authority, which was a huge angle for a while. Miz cash in on Randy Orton in 2010. That was a good one. We got the angry Miz girl from that, and the rest is history. I know Jacob Anthony Moses will agree with me that Miz is best. And then Punk in 08 on Edge, which was the first, I think, time ever that someone cashed in the night after being drafted. So he cashed in the night after being drafted on Raw. We have RVD's cash in on Cena, which was the Riot thing in 06. We talked about Edge Cena earlier. Carmella Flair. So Flair's been cashed on a couple times. Cena's been cashed on a couple times. The funny thing about Carmella is she held it for almost 300 days. A very long time she held that briefcase. And she was with James Ellsworth, yeah. And it's funny how she got the briefcase. I thought that was one of the most innovative and funny ways that someone gets the case, having James Ellsworth toss it to her. And they would restart and have her get it again.
You guys think there's ever going to be a day where, eventually, obviously, right, where somebody cashes in on the day of Money in the Bank the next year? Like they have it, and there's like a storyline of you have to the end of the night to cash it in, kind of thing, till somebody wins the next match, and maybe they like cash it in within a match.
They cash it in on the person who wins the Money in the Bank briefcase,
or something. Like maybe they put the title, like the champions in the Money in the Bank match. You know what I mean? And they're going for it too, or something. I don't know. And it's just some kind of cool thing where the champ, or another angle right there. Maybe the champion is in the Money in the Bank match and wins the Money in the Bank and has.
That's definitely a Brock Lesnar move.
Yeah. Yeah. You have double angle there, because then it just creates cool storylines and newness, freshness.
They're definitely going to have to get in it, I think, over the years with this match, because now everyone's doing the same thing. People, when they cash in on an opponent and they cash in during a match, like Rollins on Lesnar, Reigns, Mania. That was, by the way, I think that was the first Mania cash in. And then Ambrose. So we talked about Ziggler on Del Rio. That one had like the biggest I've ever heard.
It's nuts.
In my career watching wrestling, other than like Triple H and John Cena's entrances at the Royal Rumbles. But that pop was insane. And it kind of like started that like, ooh, the Raw after post-Mania is going to be so awesome. Like, something's going to happen. The crowd's going to be super into it. They're going to be shouting nonsense. But, yeah, he came down with Big E and AJ Lee, I think, were his faction at the time. And when he got that 1, 2, 3, the fans were screaming the 1, 2, 3.
Dude, I was at home. I had Ziggler shirt on. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Ziggler was, like, my number one at that time. Like, him, Punk, like, damn. But, like.
Was it CM Punk that cashed in on Jeff Hardy after Jeff Hardy beat The Undertaker?
Yes. And that was on SmackDown, right?
Yeah, but that was a good cash-in, too.
That was a good cash-in, too. Yeah, that was a good one.
Because that was the one that had that JR call, the make yourself famous, kid. Like that one. That was a good cash-in as well. I'd forgotten about that one.
He had them back-to-back years.
Yeah, he
definitely
took
the briefcases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a briefcase.
Jericho's probably pretty annoyed he didn't keep that idea for AEW.
Well, who knows? They'll probably do something that's similar at some. I'm sure he's got the ears of people there to do something creative. Definitely not Flim Flam. So my favorite cash-in was actually Ambrose on Rollins after he beat Reigns. And it was the same night that Ambrose won the Bank, because up until that point, they had teased and kind of had us begging as fans to have Dean Ambrose reach up and get that fourth belt to complete the Grand Slam and get that championship. And he hadn't, but the comrades had. And what's interesting about it is the Shield, right? So you have the Shield and how big their dynasty was. But in one night, each man was the world champion. So you had Reigns, then Raw, and Ambrose. And I thought that was so cool. And it was such a unique way to end that night and kind of put a stamp on the Shield now being split apart. So that was my favorite one. But it's such an exciting event, especially when the cash-in happens.
Yeah, and going back to Still Kid's first point about the music, that's the one that I remember. The match it's over, and then you get that Dean Ambrose music that was so killer. Oh my God, this is happening. That's 100%, bud.
Speaking of music, I don't know if AEW is watching our podcast, but have you noticed they've turned up the volume on their entrance music over the past month?
They're like, oh, duh.
Every time I watch now, and where that is Dean Ambrose's music. So he fought. Who did he fight yesterday? It's escaping me. SCU guy.
Scorpio Sky. Was it Scorpio Sky?
No, the other dude, not Daniels, not Sky.
Kazarian? No, not.
Yeah, Kazarian.
Yeah,
he fought Kazarian. And so his music was like super loud and clear. And it's good. I mean, it doesn't have the like that. I think that I'm a big sucker for the like introduction noise, then the music.
Like the glass crashing. Yeah.
Like, you think you know me? Oh, this thing. Yeah.
Save it.
Save it. Cool. All right. So we've gone kind of nostalgia, going back, watching these matches and talking about them. We got about a half hour left. Let's wrap up the rest of the card that we have to look forward to. So let's talk about the WWE Championship match. We have Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, which I think is very interesting because they just had Seth Rollins lose to Kevin Owens, and they just put Drew McIntyre over Lesnar in the Big Show. It's only a month later. Is it possible that Seth Rollins could capture the gold, or is it not going to happen? There's no way Drew's retaining, and if he does retain, is it a clean retain? Brett, we'll start with you.
I think he'll definitely retain. I think Drew McIntyre is going to have a pretty decent run. Maybe not a year, but it's going to be through the summer, I would think. With Rollins, he's going to get a great match with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is, say what you want about the guy, but one of the 5 best wrestlers in the world right now. As far as in-ring work, the whole package, he's one of the 5 best.
Are you digging the gimmick?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Me
too. Yeah. I love it. It's perfect. It's because Seth Rollins is not a babyface. He's just not. I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. He's such a better heel, and the Monday Night Messiah, the Christ-like thing, I dig it, man. I got done. I watched Waco, the series on Netflix about David Koresh. I knocked that out in like 2 days. So I'm fascinated by cults and things like that. So him having that kind of cult-like thing and everything, I dig the hell out of it.
Dude, watch Wild Wild Country if you haven't yet, or Wild West Country, whatever
it's called. That's what I've heard. I'll get on that.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, Waco was awesome. Kirsch was the man. He did great.
Wrong podcast. Let's go.
CL Kid, what do you think? Seth Rollins, you in on McIntyre retaining? You in on Rollins winning? What do you think?
I'm going to go with a lot of what Brett said. Seth Rollins, to me, is the top 5 wrestler in the world. Every match he puts on, if it's not good, it's not on him. He's amazing in ring. I love the character. I love everything he's got. He's a great heel. He should always be a heel. But the only thing that I'm shaky on is I know he beat Lesnar, but it was the obvious go over for McIntyre. We all knew he was going to beat Lesnar because you're not going to have Lesnar win again on Mania. So I just don't feel. I think they want to use this to really legitimize his run, because if he goes on, usually that first person you go against is like, a Nia Jax level male superstar, where it's like they're going to beat them, But I think Rollins really gives him something that's really going to set him up, because a lot of people that I've been reading are thinking that the McIntyre face run is getting a little stale, and I agree, because I've thought that since before he won. I think he should be a heel himself. It's just I don't know when that'll happen, and I hope that his title run goes long enough that he experiences that heel turn as the champ and remains the champ through it. I just don't want him to be running through everyone, but at the same time, he is dominant, and he should be winning. Nonetheless, I think he should beat Rollins. I think that's the way to go. Rollins can handle the loss and move right on. But eventually, to me, you have to turn. You have to turn McIntyre. Keep him as champ, but turn him.
I agree with you completely. WWE does this thing when they have the babyface champion, they try to market them, and they try to do it in a, hey, you need to be funny and kind of comment on things, and he's just it's not him. Like his gimmick in Impact Wrestling, when he was this dark and disturbed individual, that was like the best. And I think that's where he should be. If they're gonna put him as a face, at least make him like this dark face that just is exactly. Like don't try to make him a typical baby face, which they're doing now. It sucks. Luckily for him, he's super powerful and he's over. But it's not. He needs to be heel. We always say that. We always say everyone needs to be heel. But it's true. If you can't be a face, if you can't be Cena, you can't be it just can't be done. And I wish Seth Rollins would win. Brad, I think you nailed it on the cult comment. He is personifying way better than Lee. Personifying what it's like to be a cult leader, which is not even necessarily what I think they asked him to go for. I think they just want him to be this like Christ-like Messiah guy, and he's taken it to a degree of just the way his tone of voice and how slow he speaks and how direct he is with what he says. It's juicy. It's so juicy, and it's captivating me. I think it's so good. I believe he could afford the loss to Owens, in which he did. That was fine, but I don't know if he can afford another loss. So I think what's going to happen is they're actually going to have the match end in either a no contest or a disqualification or something that's not going to have him be pinned. Because if they do that, then he is barely foreseeable future. He's going to get the Bray Wyatt treatment of like 2017. And so I'm worried about that because he's such a good character right now.
What do you think of Kevin Owens coming out and aiding Rollins as in being won over by the Cult?
Oh, that's good. And they were Leanne Tompkins and a few of them on our site. I think Randy was on there too. They were talking about Kevin Owens and where he's been. That would be interesting.
Yeah, even if I'd be okay with him coming out and obviously Rollins is thinking he's coming after him, and he interferes and super kick or whatever quick move he can hit on McIntyre for the disqualification, so that McIntyre retains. Rollins is shocked, but now the story, they jump him afterwards, and you kind of just, instead of Rollins getting upset about the title not being in his hands, he's more excited about the opportunity to work with him. And now you keep McIntyre as champ, you give him some legitimate threats. But again,
so if I can circle back around to the Drew McIntyre as a babyface thing or conversation,
do it.
I like Drew McIntyre as a babyface. I think they did it the exact right way. It was kind of that Kofi Kingston thing from last year, except it was less. It was less kind of I put in my time kind of thing, and more of a I overcame my screw ups, and the fact that
Jinder Mahal for champion then. Okay.
I like it. I think he's a good babyface. Obviously heels it's easier to be a heel for most people, but I like it. I thought they did a pretty good job with it.
Okay, well then get rid of the countdown to to when he hits the Claymore thing, because it's almost like the Superman punch garbage, like
sure,
like give me that, get rid of that and I'll be okay, I guess.
Fair point.
Lord.
And then also going back to the Seth Rollins and Monday Night Messiah gimmick too. Like when I first saw it, I thought it screamed straight edge society.
Yeah.
That was my thing, and it feels like it kind of started there, and then eventually because the straight edge society wasn't about CM Punk, it was about straight edge, whereas Seth Rollins is about Seth Rollins. So that's kind of where they veered off. They made it different enough. I'm digging it.
All right. Okay. We'll let you have that one, Brett.
Some quick run through all the rest of the matches.
Well, we got 16 minutes, so let's try and squeeze in some of the other stuff, and then we'll come back to the rest of the card if we have time. You wanna lead us in, Seal Kid, to the?
Oh, okay. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah.
All right. On this day, I see clearly. Everything is going to light.
Okay, go.
All right, Brett, take us away. What happened on this date, dude?
Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the third in the trilogy at Music City Showdown in 1989. It was in Nashville, and the end of arguably the greatest trilogy of matches all time. If you've never seen Flair and Steamboat in 88, 89, for the love of God, go watch Flair and Steamboat. It's amazing. And this was the finale. It was like back in those days, the first match was always the best one, and the third match was always the second best one. And that was absolutely the case with this. It is a masterpiece in professional wrestling. If you want to know how it's done and how it's done well, Flair Steamboat is the way to go.
I feel like that was like one of the first feuds that really told like a solid story during the match. Mm-hmm. If you watch those matches, it's just the emotion, psychology, the taunting that they were doing, and then the technicality of the wrestling was great. But it just, the story they told in that trilogy was so fantastic, and it was ahead of its time, in my opinion.
And you have a guy in Ric Flair who can come up with anything, and then you have another guy in Ricky Steamboat who can do anything. So the sky was the limit with that. You have a master psychologist with Flair. You have a master technician with Steamboat. It was no miss situation, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park, and everybody should go watch it. If not tonight, tomorrow night. Make it a weekend.
Honorable mention, The Miz and John Cena near their third or fourth, on this day, with Alex Riley ringside. This was the great Miz when he was at his prime, coming out with the badass suits as champion. They had a little matchup again. Another great match.
You think that was his prime, not when he was feuding with Cena the second time around?
I don't know, man. When he came out as a champ, he was coming out all slow. and Alex Riley was at that was the Miz that if he was like that again, I would want him to win Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And he's not in it. You know what I mean? I'd want him in.
I don't give a fuck about the Miz.
Oh,
I mean, I know.
He's serious with the suits.
His greater sign, McIntyre.
Yeah,
well, thank you for your honorable mention. But yeah, backing up Brett, definitely go check out Ric Flair, the Dragon, the third one. Super solid match. And if you have some left over, check out Miz and Cena with Riley in the background. All right. So we'll before we go back to the rest of the card, typically one bite of the week, and it's funny or it's crazy. This week I want to something up because what I noticed was Matt Hardy's been back, and he was in like a gauntlet street fight this past week, which is a really good match with the Inner Circle and all the Elite. Hit his Twist of Fate multiple times. The first on Jericho, the second on Guevara. The first time he hit the Twist of Fate, Shivani said, and Hardy with a cut. The next time he hit the Twist of Fate, the announcers were like stumbled and they didn't know what to say and just said he puts down the guy. So I sat there and was like, can they not say Twist of Fate?
I guess we'll find out really
soon about this.
Because when Jeff Hardy comes back this week, if he hits it and they call it a Twist of Fate, then the rights must still be reserved to WWE. You see that a lot in these cross-brand things where you can't steal move names because they're, Lion Tamer went through something like that with the Walls of Jericho and so on. So you just, maybe it's probably something like that. If Jeff uses it and he's going to use it, and they call it, then that's probably what the issue is.
Yeah, agreed. Nothing more to add.
But that's fair. But how unprepared is the organization?
Yeah.
Though? They should know that. So to call, because what happens is the move now is not impactful because the broadcasting team's dropping the ball by calling it a cutter.
Yeah, but at the same time, Michael Cole did a similar thing. Maybe 2 months ago or something like that. I can't place whose move it was, but there was definitely a moment where he went to go call a move something, and he had to hold back. You felt what you're explaining, and then after that, fortunately for him, the move didn't come up again. I'm blanking on what it was, but it was definitely the exact same concept. Somebody having a move that they were changing the name of because the name wasn't suitable or whatever the case is. I forget what it was though.
All right. Well, I just wanted to call that out because that weirded me out when I was watching this week. All right, let's go back to the card here. In our other championship match, we have a former team that have been split recently facing each other in Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. I feel very similarly to the McIntyre match where I'd be shocked if Braun Strowman drops the title, but I just can't see them. Can they be that stupid to have the Fiend lose again?
No. I'll let you go, Brett, if you want to run with it first.
Yeah, I don't like Braun Strowman as a champion. Braun Strowman doesn't need to be a champion. Giants don't need to be a champion. Andre the Giant didn't need to be the champion. Braun Strowman doesn't need to be the champion. He needs to be a kick-ass guy who is used to make champions look stronger. And Bray Wyatt is still probably the hottest thing in wrestling, at least on the WWE side anyway, the best at the very least. So I don't want to see Bray Wyatt lose again, and I don't want to see Braun Strowman as a champion.
Agree completely. You can chalk up the loss to Goldberg because every fan around the world that knew it was coming, it just is what it is. But,
Goldberg.
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 Yeah, but, honestly, the Fiend is the best thing. Like, for me, anytime, they're showing anything and it interrupts, go to a Firefly Funhouse, I'm all in. Like, don't fuck me. This is my focus. So, it's just so obvious that he needs to win. Strowman doesn't need to be champ. I'm okay with big guys being champ. Lesnar was champ forever, and he's a big badass, and that's great. But this is just – there's no way that you keep Strowman. I'll give Strowman his credit. He hasn't said much during this little feud, but it's been entertaining, largely based on the storyline between their history, so I'll give him that. But,
yeah, because of Bray.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He sucks.
On the history. But, he needs to go. Like, that's it. Post your pictures about being champ for another, few days, and you're done. Like, done.
It's so bad. And what'd you get me, Alexa Bliss? Thank you for this gift. Like, I can't. Ugh.
He's terrible. I've never been
so bad.
Never been a fan.
He used to be. Brett?
I'm ambivalent about him. I don't hate him, but I don't like him either. He's a big guy. I mean, every promotion needs a Braun Strowman in it.
Oh, yeah.
And he should shut his mouth.
Yeah, he's horrible on the mic.
And get a better finisher.
I mean, that power slam is the worst finisher in wrestling. And I don't like the stunner from Owens. I would get rid of that too. But I'd keep that if I can get rid of the power slam. It has no power to it whatsoever.
It's a power slam.
Yeah, but it's like he doesn't like run and do a turn and like give him some oomph into it. Like, give me something where, I don't know, he holds him up for a little bit, like Goldberg does, turns and then power slams him. Something.
At least he doesn't do a choke slam like every other big man.
That's true. I'd still would take that though. And like, what's next? Someone's gonna do a suplex, and that's their finisher. I guess Goldberg kind of did that, but like, then we're gonna get to like a cradle. Oh, the finisher is a cradle.
Ambrose was doing DDTs.
Yeah, but at least it's different in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he did that double arm lift up, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he kind of kicks, then does it. It's like a stunner, but like a DDT.
Mm-hmm.
Don't defend him. They're both terrible.
Oh, you didn't like the Dean Ambrose DDT?
I don't like DDTs as finishers. Like, come on. I don't like spears as finishers anymore. There's too many of them. I don't like super kicks as finishers anymore. I'm done with them. Yeah,
that's fair. It's saturated market for super kicks.
Super kicks aren't a finisher. Sweet chin music's a finisher.
Oh, no. You tell that to the Usos.
Or Ziggler.
Are they tuning up the band? Are they tuning up the band?
No, there's no tuning of the band.
It's
Ziggler did mock Michaels a couple times back in the day.
You got to press L1 from the corner when the opponent is down, or it's not a sweet chin music for all you WWE SmackDown PlayStation players.
Well, it's the same thing with the spear too. Like I would let Edge slide in that realm because he did the hair flip, I'm waiting for you to get up. Like, come on, yeah, he motions over. Like, okay, Edge. But then after that, now everyone does the spear or does the like waiting for you to get up move. It's not as like you can't. Shawn Michaels, perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Everyone else did it right. They'd wait patiently and then do it. Not try to overdo it. Like The Rock used to just put his hands on his knees, wait for the rock bottom. There wasn't anything more about it. That was it. And you have these guys nowadays. It's interesting how many people are falling in that same realm.
Kenny Omega. And he does it 7 times a match because he hits that V-trigger 7 times a match.
Oh, God, it's true. Rough. All right, 5 minutes left.
You want to do the list? The hell with
let's get to the list. I mean, can we just say, like, who cares about Bayley and Tamina? Bayley's going to win. Tamina's a throw-in.
Yeah.
Whatever. Terrible.
Go New Day.
You think New Day's going to retain?
I hope so.
Yeah. The Forgotten Sons. What are they? Did anyone follow them? I don't know much about them.
They're pretty good, but they've gone over during the past few weeks, so I'm hoping that's just give them some heat. But they'll have a good run eventually. But for now, I don't want them to jump in as champs already.
Got it. All right. Well, Nia Jax made my list earlier. I already shot on her. So, CL Kid, I'll let you start. Who is on your list this week?
Okay, my list is Money in the Bank ladder matches, and the only reason that is with the split show, I would like to see 2 male matches, 2 female matches. Have the SmackDown, have the Raws. Have go in for 4 big ladder matches. Also, I feel like there should be a tag team Money in the Bank by now. Something of that nature, something different that kind of really lets you explore that avenue. But honestly, obviously, they have, I don't know if it's equal anymore. I didn't really look at it, pay attention, 3 SmackDown, 3 Raw guys, or whatever the case may be. But I used to enjoy knowing there's going to be one guy going for the heavyweight championship and one guy going for the main championship. And I know it becomes kind of an obvious storyline filler, but at least you get more situations because you can take one guy and have them fail, and the other person hold on to it for the year, and it's just a little more entertaining. At this point, with nothing going on, I'd prefer it that way.
Yeah, and to make my list, I hate to piggyback off you, but I'm gonna go with Nia Jax as well. You know, I'm a half-assed Nia Jax fan, but you can't be hurting people, girl. You know, not especially when you're the babyface in the Ronda Rousey situation, and then the very next week you come out and you try to cripple somebody. I mean, I get it, you get ring rust and stuff like that, but Jesus Christ, that wasn't even close. So
it's bad.
Well, you're saying about The Rock, you can get away with that.
So that,
I would like to see all kids' point. I'd love to see like these themed pay-per-views just be every match is the theme. Like Money in the Bank, every championship, just all Money in the Bank matches.
When you have TLC pay-per-views and not every match is a TLC match,
it doesn't make sense. Hell in a Cell, same thing. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, that will do it for Pod Jobbers this week. Money in the Bank match made our list. Nia Jax, you've made 2 of our lists, and we went through the greatest of all time cash-ins. We hope everyone enjoys Money in the Bank this weekend. Watch it, and also keep watching us on Pod Jobbers. We're on Instagram too, and thank you all.
Yep.